A former Mississippi State star is speaking out, and he's not holding back. Hear why he thinks it's time for Jeff Lebby to go.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jaron Spor. Welcome to Locked On Mississippi State, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, I'm Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon, McBride. We've got a crossover show for you to do today, but first we got to dive into a former player called for Jeff Lebby's job. Then I will be joined by Locked On Mizzou host John Miller to break down the game, and then Landon and I will give our upsets of the week. Can I continue my winning streak? Can Landon get? Wait, did I get one right?
No, you missed last week.
I
got
miss.
it right.
Yeah, it was the opposite because the week
before, I know I'm usually the one that's wrong here, but
yeah, the week before was what I got right. That's right. That's right. So we'll see if we can get back on track and Landon move on to a winning streak here. But first, let's talk about Kobe Jones, former Mississippi State, really solid pass rusher for them. Finished with 22 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, had 102 combined tackles in 4 seasons. Well, he's not too happy about Jeff Lebby. There was a tweet that said freshman Kamario Taylor led the team in passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns. Let him finish the year. Kobe Jones responded and said, "Sick to my stomach thinking about what could have been. Hashtag hire Huff and buy K1 and Island, Hail State." And obviously, we believe he's talking about Charles Huff, Southern Miss head coach, was at obviously at Marshall, then came to Southern Miss, and does have ties. I think he spent 20 years. I think it was the 1 year at Mississippi State as an assistant. So we're calling for jobs already for former players.
Hey, we're also calling for buying islands. Which I think, regardless of your opinion on Lebby, I think we all agree with buy Kamario and Island. I think we're all on board with that. But
yeah,
I mean, it's a bold statement, and I get where he's coming from a little bit. Like, Charles Huff has won everywhere he's gone, assuming that's who he's talking about. And if Southern Miss can get him from Marshall, Mississippi State obviously could have gotten him to come from Marshall. Right. So obviously you were in the ballpark. He's been very good. So I kind of get it. But at the same time, this isn't going to be a quick fix. You're not at Southern Miss where the talent level in the conference is what it is. And you can easily kind of come in and elevate a team quicker.
Right.
A little bit slower build in the SEC. So while I get where he's coming from, he might be jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah, Charles Huff has won everywhere he's been. I do like him a lot as a head coach.
It'd be wrong if they hired him, in my opinion. But again,
right. But I would say, let's give Lebby one more year at least. And I talk about this a little more with John in the next segment, so I don't want to spoil it too much. But I will say, when it comes to Lebby, like him winning 5 games, remember they were predicted to win 3.5. That was the over/under was 3.5, and he's gotten to 5, and there's a chance he can get to bowl eligibility with 6, and that was with one of the toughest schedules in college football. Now, with saying that, I'm not telling people 6 wins or 5 wins is acceptable, and that's what the program is, and blah blah blah. I'm just saying when you look at it from last year, they were 2-10 to now he's progressed to 5, maybe 6 wins. That is progress. Now, next year, he's still on the hot seat. All this has done is bought him that year. And I don't mean he's on the hot seat in terms of he has to win 9-10 games and be in the college football playoff for competitive. I'm saying he's got to still show the growth. So let's say they're a 5-win team this year. Next year, they need to win 7-8 games.
Yes.
Show that growth some more. If they take the step back, win 4 games, win 3 games, he's gone at that point, in my opinion. Now, he might have a little longer leash because Zach Selman, that relationship, and them understanding there's a rebuild. But he's getting next year. I mean, people just got to accept that. Unless Lebby just decides to leave on his own, he's getting next year. Another reason why he's getting next year, all those jobs open in college football is another reason why he's going to get that another year.
Exactly.
But if next year he struggles and he's fired, and let's hope not, because that means Mississippi State struggled. But if he does and he's fired, I wouldn't mind Charles Huff as the head coach. I would actually like it.
Yeah, I think it would be a great hire if that ends up happening. But you're right. Lebby, you don't want to be hiring a coach this year. I don't care who you are. You don't want to hire a coach this year. Even the best program open, that's an awful situation to be in because of how many openings there are. It's driving everybody's price up. So you don't want to be in that. And yeah, I would be shocked if Lebby is gone before the end of next year. Now, maybe if he starts like 0-6, maybe you pull the plug early so you can start some interviews. But I mean, he's the coach next year. So little too early on that. But again, it's Charles Huff wouldn't be bad. And I get why Kobe Jones wants him and wanted him. But see, the whole like thinking about what could have been, there would still have been a transition period. Could it have looked different? Maybe last year you win 3 or 4 games. There's still that transition period. So, I mean, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, Indiana did. Indiana has ruined how people think rebuilds go. That's not normal.
Yeah, that I was about to say that. I don't want to get into my Indiana rant again like I did last time.
It's not normal.
I believe it was literally last week when I went on this Indiana rant. What they did is not normal at all. And so what Curt Cignetti has done, you can't say, well, Cignetti did it.
If Cignetti go find another Cignetti then. One coach ever has done it. You're not going to go find another one 2 years later.
You know, funny enough, if you want to find the next Curt Cignetti, if you want to find this, wins everywhere he's been, older coach, just hasn't popped, gone to a big time head coaching job yet. It's probably Willie Fritz, honestly, at Houston.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. But he's already at Houston, I believe Mississippi State's an upgrade, but is it that much where you're pulling him away? I don't know, especially because he's in the Big 12, so he gets an easier conference and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like you can't say because this one coach did it, then we have to do it. Why aren't we doing it? You know, I remember, and I've said this many times, I will never judge a head coach on their first year. I just won't do it because it's usually not their players. There's just so many things that go into that season. So I remember a lot of people, they were like, Sonny Dykes, he took TCU to the national championship that first year. He's the next great coach. And I'm like, guys, that was Gary Patterson's players. Sonny Dykes even said how amazed he was when he took over that team that he didn't have to teach fundamentals and all this stuff because they were such a fundamentally sound team. He just brought a new voice to the team. That's literally what he did, a new offensive play style. Since then, TCU's done nothing. Nothing. They're not in the Big 12 title race. Now they're somewhat in it this year, but not really. Yeah. They've never made a playoff since then. They've done nothing since then. And people thought he was the next great thing because he took them to the national championship that first year. And it's like, no, that's why you don't judge off the first year. And we've seen Nick Saban went 7-6 his first year at Alabama. We know what he became. Yeah, we know what happened there.
Yeah, you can't judge a coach off the first year because either it's they haven't rebuilt yet or it's fool's gold a lot of times. Rarely do you get someone who's just coming out of the box and just knocks it out of the park like Cignetti. Yeah. So Huff may have been a better choice in the long run, but I don't think where we are today would be too much different if he was here.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so give Lebby a chance. He's already improved off last year. Maybe get you to bowl eligibility. Again, we'll see. But I again, when you hired him, he was one of the best coordinators in college football.
Mm-hmm.
He was a guy that everyone was saying was going to be the next coordinator that gets hired at a decent sized program, big program.
Yep.
And you got him. You won the sweepstakes and you got him. It's his first time being a head coach. Let's see it play out. That's all I'm saying. All right, coming up next, John Miller from Locked On Mizzou joins the show. You don't want to miss that. Well, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State and Locked On Mizzou your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you guys so much. But I'm joined now by John Miller. We have our crossover show to do. I think it's going to be a fun game. What's your thoughts?
I'm hoping it's a fun game. That's for sure. I think it's probably going to be a relatively high-scoring game. Hopefully, Missouri's offense can get out of its way. It feels like the last few weeks it's been stuck in the mud. I know Mississippi State has finally got off the schneid here the last couple years. Jaron, how you feeling about the Jeff Lebby era? Just out of curiosity, so far.
I think you have to at least be somewhat excited about it. I mean, you go 2-10 the first year, but you had a depleted roster, and for you to go 5-5 at this point right now, after I think the over-under was 3.5, like you have to be excited about that. Now there's still concerns and there's still things he needs to iron out. And obviously if he goes, let's say 5-7, and next year, there's still going to be a lot of pressure. Like the pressure isn't off just because you won 5 games and exceeded expectations. But I think he's done a lot of good, but you're also seeing a lot of stuff that it's very typical of a young head coach.
For sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains at that position. But I don't know, at least my perception from the outside is that Lebby is a good offensive mind. And yeah, I mean, honestly, you're right. I think he's still a young head coach ironing some stuff out. Yeah, right. Some growing pains there makes total sense. I think even somebody like Eli Drinkwitz, who is in, I guess this is his, I'm trying to remember, 5th season with Missouri, 6th season, I think, as a head coach overall. Right. I mean, there's still things he's learning.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's going to take time, but I think he's done such a good job at Missouri. I know everyone talks about, well, their schedule's not been whatever.
And it is the 6th season at Missouri. I'm now just realizing I messed that up, of course. So 7th season overall. Just clean that up a little bit.
What I have always said is I don't care if your schedule's easy or not. You still got to win the games. And Missouri, before he got there, wasn't winning a lot of those games. And now he's at least gotten to the point where he really doesn't lose to teams that he shouldn't lose to.
Sure.
It's the teams that are really good that he's not quite getting over the hump yet, but I think he's done a great job there personally.
I think you make a really good point, and you've touched on something that's really been a flashpoint for Missouri fans here over the last few days, which is, okay, Drinkwitz beats who he is supposed to, but when's he going to win the big one, right? We've heard this a million times over the years, not just with coaches, but with superstar athletes, even going back to guys like Peyton Manning and Michael Jordan. People have said that about. LeBron James, people have said that about. Right. So I do think where I come from, of course, I would have loved to have beaten Vanderbilt, would have loved to have beaten Alabama. Those were realistic outcomes for Missouri. Texas A&M, well, they took it to us, less realistic there. But I do think the point is, like you said, Jaron, there are steps to this. There are levels to this. At a certain point, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to before you start upsetting everyone. And, I think there have been other times in Missouri history and other times certainly in other programs' history where you've had these big upsets, but then you've struggled to consistently beat the teams you want to beat. And guess what? Those coaches ended up getting fired too. So to me, I actually kind of like the trajectory of Missouri. If sure, you can be a little bit disappointed that you're just on the cusp, but the idea that, the Missouri should be disappointed at the overall direction, I think would be foolish.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you can't take the step back because that's what James Franklin did. He was always beating the easy teams, couldn't ever beat the hard teams. Then this year he started losing to the easy teams. So at that point, you're gone. But I don't see Drinkwitz even close to being on the hot seat. But I do want to talk
about if anything, he's going to be on the opposite of the hot seat for other jobs because he's going to be a guy, if anything, the fact that Missouri's fallen a little bit short here, that doesn't hurt his appeal. In fact, I think that helps his appeal to certain other programs like a Penn State, for example, who are looking for a coach. To be clear, I'm betting on Missouri I'm betting on Drinkwitz staying at Missouri, but yeah, if anything, there's nothing about Drink's seat that is warm. If anything, he's a very hot candidate for other jobs.
Yeah, I think I've seen him as a favorite or near the favorite for about 3 or 4 different jobs over the last few weeks. So, but I think he should stay there. I do think it's kind of similar to with Lane Kiffin. Sometimes you just have it good where you're at.
I think so.
Yeah, and you think, hey, there's something better, and it's not always the case. But I do want to touch on the quarterback battle because I personally think it's going to be the 2 freshmen because I don't think Shapen's going to play, especially off of Lebby's comments on Monday where he said, hey, he has to be 100% healthy to start. Otherwise, he's not playing. And so I think it'll be the two freshmen. But what have you seen from Zollers?
Well, Matt Zollers, his first career start, obviously last week, didn't go great. You're going against a really good Texas A&M team, and it looked like he had a bloody hand. His throwing hand got banged up at some point in the game, so that status could be certainly something to watch here because obviously Missouri, well, they're down their last scholarship quarterback here, so if he's injured, I mean, my goodness, it could be really ugly here. But obviously, he's going to start the game. I mean, he finished out the game, all that stuff. Hopefully, his status is a little better. I think Missouri has to do a better job against Mississippi State of just making the game a little bit easier for Zollers, just more screen passes, just that type of thing, more easy completions. I don't know. It just felt like 7 for 22. That just feels like in modern day football, that's on the coaching staff quite a bit. He looked a lot better than that against Vanderbilt when he came in the second half with no real preparation time in that week.
Yeah, Missouri needs to take what Georgia just did to Mississippi State, where they just ran it down their throat, and that made the game so much easier for Gunnar Stockton. Stockton really didn't have a great early part of the game, but because they started running, then the secondary started being susceptible to things, and obviously there was injuries, and Jaron Manning got ejected, and all this stuff. But Missouri, one of the best running backs in the country in their backfield, so if they could kind of take that approach, I think that would bode well for them. For Mississippi State, if Shapen plays, like he's obviously just a solid quarterback. He's not an NFL guy, in my opinion. He's just a solid college quarterback. He's a guy that you kind of want on your team just because when you're rebuilding, just because he's not really going to beat you very often. Now, he's done that a few times this year. But Kamario Taylor, on the other hand, that's your future. And you can see the flashes of the future, but you also see the not polished as a passer because he's a freshman. So you see a little mix from him. I think he throws the deep ball really well, but I think he struggles with the touch in the short to intermediate passes. But on the flip side, his legs make him so much more dynamic, and you pair him with Fluff Bothwell and Devon Booth, and that's really, I think, their pathway to success, except for Missouri is one of the better defenses in college football. So,
and that's the thing. Missouri, I think, in particular, has done a pretty good job against running quarterbacks as well. They really shut down Diego Pavia for Vanderbilt with some good scheming. I thought putting Darius Smith in as a spy. He just simply had too much size and speed. Pavia couldn't get away from him in key situations. So, yeah, I think that Missouri defense, there's really not a whole lot of holes there. So if you're Mississippi State, I think it is the right move to make the move to the young player there to DeMario. I just think see what he looks like here to finish out the season because, like you say, obviously Shapen is not the future of the program.
Yeah, and at this point, yes, you're trying to get a bowl game, but you don't have much to lose because Kamario's already burned his red shirt. It's not one of those things that, like, you have to be mindful of that. It's already burned. So you might as well play him and get him some game experience.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
I could totally see it being one of those things where they're like, Shapen is listed as out because they don't want it to be that he got benched kind of thing, kind of save face on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
I'm now totally flipping my original thought. I was going, this could be a high scoring. What in the world am I talking about? There's no way this is going to be a high scoring game with Missouri's offense, how it's looked, how that Missouri's defense has looked. What in God's name was I talking about? Completely wrong. That guy was an idiot 5 minutes ago. Whatever the total is, go under. That's how this is playing out.
Yeah, go way under the way the quarterbacks are playing. Yeah. But I'm glad you mentioned the Vanderbilt game because that's a game I think you guys probably win if Purdue it doesn't get hurt. Now, maybe I don't want to say for sure, but I just felt like y'all would have had a better chance, obviously.
Yeah, I could see why you'd think that on paper. To be fair, though, I think really the Missouri offense looked a little bit better in the second half when Zollers came in. Yeah. So I could totally see why from the outside looking in you would think that. I just want to be fair here and not make all the excuses in the world for the Tigers.
Well, and I wanted to bring it up because y'all did do a really good job on Pavia. And Kamario Taylor, while his ceiling might be higher than that, it's not that right now. He's not there right now. So you could have some success. And they're different runners, so we'll see what happens there. But who do you got in the game?
Well, I got to stick with the Tigers at home. I'm not feeling very confident at the moment. I think the fact that Mississippi State frankly got run over a little bit by Georgia last week. That does just give me more confidence that the Tigers will take it home here. So I will stick with Missouri for sure. And a team that I will say under Drinkwitz, we saw it last year, even after Missouri got knocked out of the college football playoff, they still played hard and won their last couple games against Oklahoma and Arkansas. So I think at the very least you'll see a good effort from Missouri on Saturday. What do you think, Jaron?
Yeah, I think you'll see a good effort from Missouri. Honestly, like looking at it, I trust Missouri's defense more than South Carolina, Mississippi State's defense, and so that's why it makes me want to say Missouri. But before the season, I picked Mississippi State to win 6 games, and that 6th win was this game. So I can't go away from it. I got to kind of stick with that. And it was just because all the unknowns from Missouri before the year, and obviously I wanted Mississippi State to make a bowl game. So I'll stick with it, but I'm going to go low scoring. I'm going to go like 17-14, 17-13, somewhere in there. I think it's very low scoring.
I think you're right, obviously, as I started to realize over the last few minutes. I think that's the right call. I really do. The more I think about how this is going to play out, it could be a pretty ugly ball game, but you know what? Somebody's got to win it.
Yeah, but everything tells me to pick Missouri. Missouri's a better defense. Missouri's got the running game. It tells me go Missouri, but I have to go with my before the season prediction. I got to stick with it.
It would go against the trend that we just talked about, where Missouri typically beats the teams that it's supposed to. So I'm gonna stick with that trend.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, of course, Jaron. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, I want to thank John one more time for joining the show. That was a lot of fun to talk about the Missouri Tigers. But Landon, it's Thursday, so we got to get into our upset of the week. I did finally realize I picked Florida State to beat Clemson last week. That's what it was. And Clemson waxed them. So I did miss. I missed big time. But yeah, what do you got this week?
So this week, and this one kind of jumped out at me, which makes me think I'm going to be really wrong about this time when we talk about it next week. You can take Iowa over USC. It just seems Iowa's shown a lot of fight this year. I mean, obviously they're having very good. The games they've lost, they have been into the very end. Lincoln Riley's offenses, there are certain types of defenses that seem to just throw that man for a loop.
Yeah. And
it's usually the more physical defenses.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Iowa has. I don't know if anyone's watched football for the last 20 years, but
Kansas State and Iowa State is what gave OU fits in the Big 12 with Lincoln Riley. That's Iowa. That's literally what Iowa does.
It's Iowa souped up.
Yes. Yeah, that's literally Iowa. So that I like that pick because I consider that one as well. I went through the games and there wasn't like a lot of them that jumped out, but I'm going to go with Wisconsin over Indiana. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going with that. There's no chance. I'm not saying any chance that would win.
Swinging for the fences.
Yeah. There was a couple I looked at, but nothing that I really loved outside of the one that you mentioned. Pittsburgh and Notre Dame kind of seemed fun because Notre Dame has lost to every ranked team they've played. I just don't think Pittsburgh's very good. Like, not as good as, like, I think they're average, I should say. Texas A&M versus South Carolina, like, that would make a lot of sense for A&M to finally have their game where they fold. Right. But I feel like we're saying that every week, and they haven't done it yet. So maybe they're different. Yeah, so I'm not picking that one. Arkansas at LSU, maybe, because LSU just, they've been terrible, but Arkansas has been terrible, but at least Arkansas has Taylor Green back there.
At least they've been fun terrible and not just
LSU has former Mississippi State quarterback Michael Van Buren because he came in for benched Garrett Nussmeier. Who knows what's going on there? Oklahoma and Alabama. OU was the last one that I got right. OU beat Tennessee a couple weekends ago. I think Alabama wins that one by 2 touchdowns. So I'm not really feeling confident in that one. And it's nothing against Oklahoma. I just think Alabama at home, I think they kind of slept walk through LSU. That's going to kind of wake them up, and they're going to play a lot better this week. I did think it was interesting that Duke is favored over Virginia.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I do want the crazy scenario where Duke somehow wins the ACC and the ACC gets left out because they have 4 losses, but they only have 1 ACC loss. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the Friday night game. I'm going with Clemson over Louisville. So I picked against Clemson last week because I was like, man, Dabo just looks distraught. Like, there's no way they're going to do it. And then they blew out Florida State. And so now I'm on the Clemson bandwagon again, I guess. I think a big part of it, though, is I'm just not sold on Louisville. And Louisville's ranked number 20. They're favored by 2.5. It's at Louisville, but it's a Friday night game where weird things happen. I just think Clemson's the better team. I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I like that one. That was another one I thought about a lot, partially because it is Friday night. And if Dabo was going to get his mojo back, of course, it would be like on a weird Friday night game that no one watched. I mean, it would be that kind of situation. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. And I was reading about that possible Duke scenario earlier today. And at the end, they're like, but if Georgia Tech ends up beating Georgia, then they'd get in anyway. So I was like, that's a fair point. But that's a big if there. But that happening would be hilarious, honestly. I want weird stuff to happen. Those are my favorite things. So I need that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one would be a lot of fun. And I will say this about Clemson, too. If they lose this game, they're 1 loss away from being out of a bowl game, and they still got South Carolina to play. So, that's why there's a lot of pressure on this game for them this week. But I do want to bring up real quick before we go, the availability report came out. Blake Shapen is probable, and Albert Reese is probable. So that's positive news in terms of Reese. I know last segment I was talking about I don't think Shapen will play. I still don't think he'll play, even though he's listed as probable.
Right.
And maybe that's me just thinking or wanting to see the Kamario era, not wishing an injury, just ready to see that era. But Isaac Smith was out, so that's a big loss for the Bulldogs, obviously. But all right, well, thanks for bringing Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference of college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. Check those out. We'll also do our pre- and post-game videos on all of our social media platforms. That will be on Saturday, so look for that. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.